Thank you, Lindsey, so much. All right. This is the outtake of our interview. It's more than I imagined. I really appreciate your sharing the story of the colleague and what we carry around with us as we continue to soar and how it informs our choices. And people don't really see the voices that, whether we like it or not, sometimes we internalize.
Yeah. Like you said, those little microaggressions, those have stuck with me. That obviously has stuck with me. And like I said, come on. Somebody asked me, again, a different person, different place. I show up and they're like, am I married? And if I'm married, why would I want to have a job? And then I came for a weekend event and he's like, don't you have children? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, don't you love your children? Don't you want to be with them? And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't even know how to respond to this in this moment. But that's energy that I'm not going to give to you.
Absolutely. What for me is really real around this conversation is that every day there are voices that can take us down or lift us up. And while they're interpersonal, they're also part systemic. When coaching executive leaders like women of color, part of it is what have we internalized around racism?
Right.
And what have we internalized around sexism? Like, oh, where should we be? Or what are we doing? Or are we protecting the male ego enough in your story?
Right. And age is both in terms of, I realize I've shifted now. I'm shifting now from being the youngest one in basically every room I was in to not the youngest, and also recognizing I'm eventually moving in and watching my female colleagues too who are dealing with a sense of, at the other end chronologically of the spectrum, and a feeling of how does the system value or not value and see my value because I'm of a certain age. So especially for women, I think that that's true right all along the way. But I've gone from this, you're the youngest whipsnapper in this room, what do you know, to, maybe I have something, I do bring a different chronology, recognizing my hair starting to turn colors and happening that soon I'm going to, eventually I'm going to be the oldest one in the room. And that comes with other projections, I think, especially in our society around women, especially for women.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the importance of the inner work and the inner appreciative inquiry, right? So we talk about interviewing others and getting these peak moment experiences and stories, and how can we apply those to ourselves to be in the space of strength so that when we're faced with these microaggressions, we can have a very different relationship to it, like where it's more like water off of a duck's back.
That was the exact metaphor. I was like, exactly. I'm working on building up my oil on my feathers so that it can just roll off, right? I love that metaphor because it is, because some stuff still sticks. It's sticky, like you said. So at the same time, the more that we surround ourselves with the spirits and the people and the stuff that help us, I think they help us oil up those feathers in a way, like you said, the allies present and past. And that helps because those things are going to continue to come. Like you said, the mud is not going away, but how we show up and navigate it can change.
So we can emerge as the lotus. Absolutely. I just realized this is my mother. She created this stone rubbing. We grew up. And so I feel like almost like an owl, and there's wisdom, and there's the heart in the nose, and so much love from our parents and our ancestors. So I was thinking, okay, so building up the oil on our back so it can roll off. There's a couple things. One is knowing that we have to do our inner work, our strength-based inner work. The other, which I completely feel with you, is being in sisterhoods and partnerships of both story sharing and spotlighting and amplifying in ways that are authentic, where we can mirror and see ourselves that contradicts, like in positive psychology, the 3-to-1 that we need to hear. So that kind of relationship of mirroring and authentically elevating each other helps also to create this resilience in the face of systemic.
I so agree. And I have found that more and more and more the importance of being and creating, like you said, cultivating appreciative female, safe and beautiful places. That's become very important to me, that I realized, to your point, of the being in spaces where we can just authentically this is my story. I don't know that I've ever told anybody that story other than my husband totally knows it, because I will go around and be like, well, Daddy let you write a thing in your book, didn't he? You know, every time I write an article or something, I'm like, well, I'm glad Dad let me write another article. I mean, it's become a joke in our house, but a digital to sort of pop the balloon on it and let the air out of that. To your point, that's been so important, especially in my academic space. Literally this morning, I was like on text chains with some of my female colleagues, faculty members, who we just, whether it's somebody's not feeling well and needs soup, to we have a meeting coming up that we're anxious about, to, you know, how are we going to have each other's back on a committee and make sure that you are heard, right? Because we know all of the challenges that women have sometimes, and it's not that they're not speaking, it's that they're not being heard in the meeting. And so how do we exactly help to bolster each other? And I appreciate your metaphor of the mirror too, to just be the mirror of letting us hold that up to one another and being like, you know what? Yeah, that's not okay. That you're not crazy. That that happened. That's not okay. And then how can we process and impact change the system? How can we be levers to change the system, or at least change the microsystem around us where you feel that you are supported and seen? And we can sort of push our elbows out a little bit for each other so that there's more space for you to have your voice at this table or at this space.
That reminds me of my first time that I was walking into this CEO's boardroom. And this was a company that had like 30,000 employees across the globe. And I was being brought in by a female leader. So we walk into this boardroom with the CEOs and other consultants, and we were the only women there, except for the tea lady.
Yes.
And what I just remember and I so appreciate about the leader that I was there to support, Nini Molefi, she was incredible. She knew from years of stepping into these spaces what it might feel like for me to be stepping in. And what she did was she asked a question. She asked me, like, what am I seeing and sensing? Knowing that I had a systems view and I would be able to name the strengths in the room. But she gave me this space to be able to have a voice. Like you said, this kind of elbows and space. And as soon as I could have a voice and a presence and share some of my insights, I felt like, okay, now I can be at this table and not focus on the fact that we were the only women of color. And then the rest was history with this company and being able to do a lot of appreciative inquiry work and values work. But it all started in that first meeting with another female, a leader who said, okay, how can I bring her voice in and the space? And so I love your wisdom of we're in these committees or you're in these spaces. How can we do that for other women, knowing what it takes to create psychological safety,
right,
when there is so much imbalance in these arenas? Yeah, so great.
And she has a story, right? Of somebody, like, I go back to our intergenerational and ancestral, how important, you know, impactful that was for you. What is her story? And I see you doing that with others. I mean, that's the work that you're doing in the world is so impactful, important work. Your wings are so vast that you're, you know, it's not just elbows, you have wings that you're trying to spread to create those spaces, Tanya. And I so appreciate it. I see you paying forward that gift that she gave you 100-fold.
Thank you. That is our space and place in the world to learn and be.
Spaciousness works. I believe that spaciousness works is what I've heard. So creating that space is very important, right?
Oh, yes. Thank you for seeing and knowing and hearing. This is exactly it. Yes. Gonna give you this.
Oh.